Good morning. So, before we get started officially, lunch will be served by the Four Seasons Early Learning Center.
Where's the microphone?
Oh yeah, we got one of those. Hello.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
good. So the Four Seasons Early Learning Center will be giving lunch.
No.
Just quit already. Here we go. Right in the mouth. Michael Jackson. Okay. Leo and Amelia have volunteered. Leo and Amelia. This is not working. Let's get another battery. Leo and Amelia have volunteered to be the microphone runners again. Yay. In the corner way over is the library. Mary Metcalf is there, and she has an advertisement for me to read, which says, a book discussion on the Symphony for the City of the Dead. David Kelly, who is the founder of Project Harmony, the first and largest secondary school exchange between the United States and the former Soviet Republic, will lead a book discussion on M.T. Anderson's Symphony for the City of the Dead. This is Dmitri Shostakovich and the Siege of Leningrad. This will happen on March 23rd at 6:30 at the Greensboro Free Library. Okay, moving along, Janet Long is in the back. She has an advertisement as well. Whoop, I have to do it from memory. She's selling tickets for a raffle at the Four Seasons. Over here we have voting today for the Solid Waste District and for Hazen Union. Enter over there by the coat rack and see the ballot clerks. Any other announcements before we get going? Restroom is out there or down the hall. And let's go. Excuse me. Warning for the annual town and town school district meeting. The legal voters of the town of Greensboro are hereby warned and notified to meet at Fellowship Hall in said town Tuesday, March 7th, 2017 at 10 a.m. to transact the following business. Article 1, to elect a moderator to govern said town for the coming year. The floor is open for nominations.
I nominate Tim Nisbet.
Tim has been nominated. Other nominations? You might want to start thinking about another one sometime. Not yet, but seriously, if you see me starting to make way too many mistakes, think about the following year. Okay, so this is a ballot vote. You can instruct the clerk to cast a ballot if you want. Okay, there's a motion on the floor to have the clerk cast one ballot for Tim Nisbet as your moderator. Is there a second? All in favor will say aye. Aye. Those opposed? He is elected. Thank you very much. Article 2, to elect a town clerk for a 3-year term. Floor is open for nominations. Bridget?
I nominate Kim Greaves.
Kim Greaves is nominated. Is there other nominations for town clerk?
Who seconded that?
Who seconded that?
Oh, okay.
Roseanne. Other nominations for town clerk? Seeing none, this is also a ballot vote.
Move we instruct the clerk to cast one ballot for Kim Greaves. Second.
Motion and seconded is that the clerk cast one ballot for Kim Greaves as being your town clerk for a 3-year position. All in favor will say aye. Aye. Those opposed will say no. She is elected. Susan, do you want to look forward?
Yes,
Okay.
I have to have my notes though. My memory's not what it ought to be. So now that we have a new town clerk, I want to all say thank you to our outgoing town clerk.
Thank you.
Valdine has worked in the town offices for 30-some years. I'm not even sure how long, Valdine.
About 32.
Okay. She's a long time Greensboro resident, raised her family here, always been active in the community. Way back when, she organized the first bread and puppet fundraiser that was in the 90s, I think. It was a really big job organizing vendors and laying out sites, getting garbage picked up, collecting the money, and then distributing it. And that money was used to offset the expenses for the town gravel pit. Started a clothing swap that turned into the giving closet eventually. And among her many positions, and I'm sure I'm missing some here, I talked to lots of people to find out, but there were so many it was hard to come up with everything. So she's been a lister, a zoning administrator, assistant town clerk, treasurer, worked on the cemetery commission, been on beach and recreation committees, the Grange committee, works as an emergency contact in case there's ever anything that comes up in town through the emergency services. She's been responsible for computerizing the listing system, worked on 2 townwide reappraisals, which is no small job. Pauline's always been professional and responsive to the needs of the community, both in the formal setting, such as for tax appeals, and an informal setting. You have a phone call and you just want to know where something is or how to get hold of somebody. Pauline knows. You can always talk to her for that. From my perspective, the most important thing she does is providing support to the select board. If we have a question about anything, whether it's a statute or the history behind something, Pauline's always there, ready to help us out, give us the information that we need, and also to bring us back in line if we start treading a little too far off the track, which is a very good thing. A couple of years ago, she converted the whole town financial system to a new system called Nimerick that is used by many towns around here. And the other thing that Pauline has always done is if there's a job that needs to be done, she just gets in there and does it. Doesn't ask twice, just it's done once you ask her. So I would like for everybody here to give Pauline a big round of applause for everything she's done. We have a certificate with all kinds of papers falling around. We have a certificate. We also.
Oh, cool. Great picture. Oh, wow. Don't drop it.
We have a gift, and Pauline, I am prepared. I've learned from you.
Okay.
So.
I hate to cut the ribbons, though. They're nice. Oh, very nice. Oh, very nice. Thank you very much. It's beautiful.
I'd just like to thank you all for all your support over the years, and to Bridget, who brought me into the office in the first place. And I hope to see you all ongoing. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Pauline. And for those that don't know, this is from Devin Burgess in town, the local glass blower in town.
Yes. It's gorgeous. Yes. Oh, thank you. Oh, like that. Thank you. That is, it's gorgeous. Thank you. Now,
Thank you,
why
Bob.
you were so good on the table. Well, thank you very much. All right, so I'm going to move this stuff out of the way.
You want to put it on the piano?
I'd just like to add, for those of you who do not know, that Pauline was the person who thought of, created, and for many, many years ran the Funky Fourth.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Okay, so while we're in this mode, we will do the annual Greensboro Award, and then we'll continue with the town meeting.
Okay, so I get to feel like Santa Claus today. This is always fun when we have people to congratulate for the work they do in the community. And the person that we selected for the Greensboro Award this year, I was kind of amazed that she hadn't already been selected. I think this is long overdue. But I'd like to invite Janet Long to come up. about Janet, and then we'll show off the plaque here and give her her gift. But Janet arrived in Greensboro about 1947? 46.
December 1st.
Just for those that want all the details. About 11 years old, right? Yeah. So, and she worked at the family gas station. You probably all know about Lyle's Garage. Worked down there where she got a chance to meet all the cute boys in town. And as a teenager, ran with the local group of teenagers, a combination of summer and full-time people. I think there were about 18 of them, 12 of whom have now moved back to Greensboro for their retirement years. Well, this is always home for you. Now, except you did leave to go off to Catherine Gibbs College, and then you were off to San Francisco and Hawaii, Texas for a while, and I don't even know where all else. You worked in the insurance industry. And there, they were very clever. They noticed that Janet likes to play games. And for anybody that knows Janet, you know she loves to play games. She loves to play bridge. They recognized this, took her and some other people within the industry and taught them computer programming because they recognized what a valuable skill this was. And she spent her career then in the insurance industry as a computer programmer. She married Pat Long. They lived in Hawaii for a while. Janet was primarily clad in a bikini during that time.
Can't envision that, can you?
They built a boat and sailed to Micronesia, where they lived for nearly a year. Then, the mid-70s sometime, Janet and Pat moved back home to Greensboro, and Pat was a preacher at the Methodist Church, and Janet worked in the family insurance business. Now, since Janet's been here, just a smattering of the activities she's been involved in. And you're going to notice a theme in here. So with the Historical Society, she's been a board member and a treasurer. With the church, where we are right now, she's been choir member, bookkeeper, and barista. For the 4 C's, she's been board member and treasurer. Greensboro Free Library, volunteer and a bookkeeper. The Mountain View Country Club, board member and treasurer. Caspian Monday Music, board member. The annual book sale in the Lyle's Garage to support the Greensboro Historical Society. For the Greensboro Walking Ladies, she's been the treasurer, walker emeritus, and our learning hostess. Fire District Number 1, the treasurer. Caspian Beach Committee, board member and treasurer. Justice of the Peace, collector of delinquent taxes. And you know it says something. We love our collector of delinquent taxes in the middle of town. She's the friend to many, driving people that have transportation problems or other problems to doctor's appointments, grocery store, out to lunch, whatever they need. Janet's there to be their friend. As I said before, she's an avid bridge player. Right now, playing 3 games regularly every week. That's quite a time commitment. An opera lover. She enjoys golf, tennis, cooking, and the Britcoms on television. And last but not least, she's an animal lover. I've heard Janet say more than once that she actually likes animals more than people. But we know she likes people a lot, too. Cats are always part of her household, and any cat that lives with Janet is a very, very lucky cat. We would just like to say thank you, Janet, and I think you really deserve this award.
The Greensboro Award gets a plaque. So she has a plaque.
I want to thank you, and I can't believe my reaction.
Oh. And this is for you too. While you catch your voice, we'll give you a chance to open your gift.
Somebody that knows how to live.
Oh, I think it's just a little.
I know, I never do that.
And we have the brochures. Every year we publish brochures for the recipient of the Greensboro Award. And we have these out here, and they'll be available for anybody to pick up.
Goes with my house.
Doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
you. I'm surprised. I'm speechless.
So are we.
I didn't think that would ever happen.
That's a surprise.
Yeah, is that a great photo?
Okay, that takes care of the good part of the meeting.
Yes.
Ready to move on? Article 3, to take action on the Town of Greensboro annual printed report. What is your pleasure? The motion is in order to accept it. Moved. Seconded, okay. There is one correction that was brought to my attention this morning. The DRB, it says in here that Linda...
Which page?
I don't know, what page was that, Linda?
Is that on page 6?
Anyhow, it says that Linda Romans, on page 6, it said that Linda Romans resigned. She did not.
Oh.
But Janet Travers, did retire from that board after, 20 years or so on it? Is that correct? How many? 20 years, yes. Thank you for your service. So that's the correction that I have. So this is where we give corrections to the town report or any questions we may have about the report itself. Yes.
He serves on the recreational committee, and she was not listed.
Okay, Kristen Leahy was left off of the list for the recreation committee. Anything else? Nothing? Okay, the motion is to accept the printed reports of the annual printed reports. It used to say of the auditors, but it doesn't anymore. Okay, so if you're in favor of accepting the town report, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say no. I see that Vicki Strong, our representative, is here. Would you like to hear a few words from her before we proceed?
Yes.
Come on up, Vicki, excuse me.
Thank you. I'm just amazed at the crowd. So I'm glad to be here. And just so you know why Sam isn't with me, Sam Young, the other representative, we do 7 town meetings. We have 7 towns to represent in one day. And I know I'm getting older. And when Sam admitted he's getting older, I thought we would work out a plan. And he's in... let's see, Sheffield, Wheelock, and Glover, and I'm doing Craftsbury, Greensboro, and Albany, and then we meet tonight in Barton for the last town meeting. But you know, that's the joy of our Vermont democratic way of life and government, that we each have our town meetings, and we all care about things on that big state level, but every town is different when it comes to your local business. So I've been privileged to serve in the legislature. This is my 7th year, I believe, my 4th term starting. And I've served on our House Judiciary Committee for 5 years, and this year I was moved to a new committee that talks about housing and military affairs. And I found it to be a great fit for me. And in my letter here, I left my contact information. But I just outlined a few of my priorities in this session, and one is especially housing. We see in our state a gap for some of our homeless folks, a lot of them veterans, unfortunately. We see a gap where people who are suffering with some mental illness of some sort end up in emergency rooms, and I don't know if you've heard the stories, but they end up staying there for days, if not weeks, in an emergency room, and that's just not the right kind of care. So I've proposed a meeting we're having in the Northeast Kingdom to talk about some creative ways to help with housing for homeless, for veterans, for those suffering from mental illness and drug problems. So that's my legislative priority this year, is really about helping those with those problems in our area. So I hope we can make some progress on that. And one more bill I did propose this year had to do with another shot at Act 46, our school bill that we passed last session. And I'm a believer in school choice, that in our small communities we have such opportunity between communities to share resources, whether it's activities or sports or a curriculum. So I've proposed a bill where the money could follow the student if they want a service or a curriculum outside of what their local school provides. And that's another thing that I feel quite passionate about. And just overall on that bigger level of our legislature right now, it's a whole new day as far as leadership goes, and with our new governor, I think our legislature and the governor are feeling each other out. So we've been moving what I feel is kind of slow, and there's not a lot of excitement or action. Sometimes we get all hyper and run into each other and don't get anything done. Now we're not getting anything done because we're moving so slow. But overall, we're making progress on the budget, and that's the biggest need right now. Sam is our numbers guy. He's in Ways and Means, and he has been working hard in the Appropriations Committee on balancing our budget. And I don't know if you've heard, we had a $75 million budget gap, but don't get too discouraged. Right now it's down to 18 million. So they're chipping away, and I believe by the end of the session we'll have a balanced budget. I also believe, according to our governor, we won't be raising our taxes and fees. So let's cross our fingers that that will be the case for those of us who feel that we've reached the end of that taxing and fees problem. So that's my quick wrap up. And if would you like me to take a question, or I can stand in the back, whatever's your pleasure.
Questions? Questions for Vicki?
In your new position, dealing with military veterans, are you attending the Northeast Freedom Veterans Summit on Saturday at the State College?
I know well about that summit, and unfortunately I'm going to be out of town. But I'm so appreciative of that summit, and I would be there if I wasn't going to be out of town.
Other questions for Vicki?
So can you be more specific about why you're saying things are moving slowly? I mean, can you put the responsibility on one group or another, or is it just... Let's hear.
I wish I could explain it, because we're all kind of scratching our heads. As of right now, we've only passed out of committee and out of the House floor a half a dozen minor bills that are what we call housekeeping. One example is, on my committee, we did a 189-page bill about updating our alcohol laws, and that was pretty boring. But in the end, it passed. But it just felt it wasn't any major type of legislation. It's taking archaic laws, literally since Prohibition, and bringing some of them up to speed, even in language. And so that's kind of where we're at right now. It's more technical bills that are just updating language and nothing of substance as far as really changing particular laws yet. Now, we might go back after our town meeting break and suddenly get hit with marijuana and other things, and I'll be regretting everything I said here about how slowly it's going. So we'll see.
I have a question.
Act 46 is really challenging many of our small towns with small schools, and for instance, in this district, we have a structure that works but doesn't fit the mold, and there seems to be a lot of pressure to move toward consolidating, which losing an elementary school is a major loss for a community, and I wonder if the legislature is moving toward any more flexibility in that structure.
That'd be nice. There are numerous bills being proposed. Just so you know, most of us legislators, especially from the Northeast Kingdom, are not happy with Act 46. So we have co-signed quite a few, at least half a dozen bills, to try to give more flexibility and more time. I'd like to see Act 46 personally repealed. It might fit Chittenden County or other larger areas, but a small area like us with Greensboro, Craftsbury, Glover, we have these towns that are not really connected in a lot of ways based on hills and valleys and governance structures. So I feel badly about Act 46, that it's more of that top-down approach and really doesn't understand the real dynamic of our small communities.
Penny?
I'm curious about the governor's suggestion that all schools level fund. I guess I'm asking, is he aware that some of the funding to schools being from the federal government is contingent upon special ed services or lots of other things, and that the school may not have a choice about level funding? They're required by law to fund these things, and if one school has like more students who need more funding, they can't control that. It's, people move around, kids go from school to school. Different schools fit different kids, and some schools have a high propensity of kids who need more funding. So, is he aware of that?
He is. It kind of threw all of us in the legislature for a loop. And it is not a popular proposal. In fact, it's not going anywhere. It's dead in the House. But the overall feeling about the legislature is let's give our governor a little more time to get his feet wet a little bit more on these issues. And I think next year we'll see something a little more understandable in the approach he took this time. So it was not a popular proposal, whether you're Democrat or Republican. We just didn't see it as being a reality right now.
Peggy.
I was driving north about 2 weeks ago, and it must have been 10 minutes to 4, and I saw a child get off a school bus who couldn't have been any bigger than a kindergartner. And I thought, you consolidate these far apart schools. Does anybody give any thought to how long these children, the very little children, are going to spend on the bus?
Right.
I mean, did they think about that at all?
I would hope so. I think so. But I don't know why. I don't think a lot of the legislators understand that dynamic. Like I said earlier about here we are here and all the back roads, the travel. But there are those of us who totally get that and understand that. We don't want our children on the bus for an hour, first thing in the morning, an hour home. So that's definitely part of the dynamic.
Yes, Roz.
I may be beating a dead horse here, but as opposed to consolidating the physical schools, why are we not consolidating the supervisory unions? This is just, it's the cart before the horse to me. We're paying a lot of money to all these small supervisory districts that, in essence, the whole of Vermont would be a supervisory district in, say, Manhattan. Not that I want to be in Manhattan or be anything like Manhattan, but these are tasks that now, in this age, these tasks can be done digitally and electronically, and we can have Skype, and we have all these ways to consolidate those supervisory unions. Not the schools. We need to keep our schools. It's those supervisory unions that need to be consolidated. And it seems so obvious to me, and I can't believe, and so now I'm just saying it again, and thank you for listening.
That was definitely not a dead horse. I believe 100% what you're saying is the truth. I do know there's a strong union support for supervisory unions in our state house. I kind of want to, does anyone work for the supervisory union here? I don't want to be rude, but, okay, sorry, Dave. I just want to say.
No, I'm the chair of our school board, and I want to second that 100%. We are wasting millions of dollars on redundancy in our central offices.
You're absolutely right. Would fund our schools and lower our taxes. There is a bill in the House, believe it or not, and I did help support it, to make Vermont one school district. I mean, why do we need the craziness of, have you ever looked at a map of supervisory unions? They overlap each other, and the money in their budgets, and I want to kind of say, what is it exactly you do there? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Why can't schools and principals and school boards do the job and have one maybe higher structure for the whole state? So, thank you for bringing that up. I think that's important.
Chrissy?
I'm glad you're doing something about housing for the mentally ill, but I'd really like to see better services for the mentally ill. I know we rank number 4 in the country for treatment of the mentally ill, but it still lacks a lot. So I hope, are there some bills and some movement towards that?
Interestingly, at this meeting I'm holding later in the month, there's a group out there, and there's a model called Soteria House. Yes. Have you heard of it? It's a great innovative model for a small place with 5 to 7 beds where people are being treated well and humanely without over-medicating them. So I think that's a huge step, and it's a great model, and it is happening in Vermont. I'd like to see us have that up here in the Northeast Kingdom, a model like that.
Yeah.
about the supervisory unions. This is not the first time this has come up. Many, many times when Bruce Richardson even was on, this came up about the supervisory unions. They should have been consolidated a long time ago. This is not the first time this issue has come up.
I know, well, thank you.
Way back.
Yes, you would remember, right, Ann? Thank
Any
you.
other questions for Vicki Strong? You gonna stick around a few
I
minutes?
will be in the back, and
Okay.
if you can get out of your seat and want to come talk to me, I'd be more than happy to hang out for a bit, and then I'm on my way to Albany.
Oh, Janet?
I'd just like to say that she's a really good rep. She works hard.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming, Vicki.
Thank you so much for giving me some time.
Okay, Article 4 is an Australian ballot article, so we do not have to take action on that. The voting is happening over there. Need to be on the checklist. Article 5, shall the voters of the town of Greensboro authorize property tax exemption for the ball field property identified as partial ID 005-0002 for a 3-year period. This will eliminate the municipal property tax due. However, the amount due for education taxes will still need to be raised and will be included in our local agreement rate.
So moved.
So moved by
Mike?
Mike, seconded by
Me.
me, Jan. Yeah. Discussion, Mike? Nothing? Just a little point of order, if you make the main motion, you have the right to speak first. No? No discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed will say no. It is passed. Article 6, to elect town officers and town school district officers required by law and one or more library trustees. You have a list in front of you on page 7. We will go down them in order. The first office is that of a select board member, a 3-year term currently held by Peter Romans. Floor is open for nominations.
I nominate Peter Romans.
The name of Peter Romans is in front of you. Another point of order, you do not need a second on a nomination for an officer, but you can do it if you like. Other nominations for that one 3-year term? This is a ballot vote. We can either have a ballot on paper or we can have the clerk cast one ballot. What is your pleasure? Would anybody like to claim responsibility for saying that? We'll give this one to Laura Lee. Okay, Laura Lee made a motion that the clerk cast one ballot. Is there a second? Second is Carl. All in favor of the clerk casting one ballot for Peter Romans as your select board member for the next 3 years, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Congratulations, Peter.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it, okay. The second is a 2-year term currently held by Sean Thompson. Floor is open for nominations.
I nominate Sean Thompson.
Okay, Lee has nominated Sean Thompson. Other nominations for the 2-year term? It would be appropriate for the nominations to cease and somebody,
I move that the nomination cease and that the clerk cast one ballot for Sean Thompson.
the motion on the floor is that the nominations cease and that the clerk cast one ballot for Sean Thompson, and it was seconded by Mike. All in favor will say aye. Aye. Those opposed will say no. Sean, congratulations. Okay, third select board member is currently held by Michael Lapierre. He is filling out the term of Ernest Macy, and that term will expire today, so this is now a 2-year term. Floor is open for nominations.
I nominate Mike Lapierre.
Mike Metcalf has nominated Mike Lapierre. Other nominations? Your chance to be on the board. Okay.
I move that nomination cease and that the clerk cast one ballot.
Moving right along.
Okay, is there all right, so Bridget has suggested that the clerk cast one ballot for Michael Lapierre and that nominations cease. And it's seconded by Kim. Okay, all in favor will say aye. Aye. As opposed? Congratulations, Michael. You're on the board. Okay, next office is that of treasurer. Current 3-year term, also a ballot vote, currently held by Valdine Hall, who is not running for re-election. Yes, Erica.
I nominate Barbara Brooke. Second.
Barbara Book is nominated, yes. Other nominations? Laura? Denise Stewart.
Okay, who did the second nomination?
That was Laura Fontaine.
Okay.
Other nominations for treasurer? We have a contest. If there is none, Christie?
Could we hear about the two people's
Oh, yes, okay. Would the candidates like to address the audience? Barbara, you're the first one up, so.
I am Barbara Burke. I live in the Bend in Greensboro. I've been here about 1.5 years, but I've lived most of my adult life in Vermont. My husband and I lived in Waterbury Center, raised our family there, and I worked for National Life of Vermont for 30 years. I was a mainframe programmer there until I took a job in the internal auditing department. I programmed for them and I became an internal auditor. That's my financial background. I also served 3 years on the supervisory committee for Granite Hills Credit Union. Valdine was kind enough to let me shadow her for a couple of afternoons so I could learn about the position and to check out the system. And I am interested in being a treasurer.
Thank you. Denise?
Where was Denise?
I'm Denise Stewart. I was born and raised here in Greensboro, Bend. I came back after 15 years being gone. I have 17 years of accounting experience, 4 of which include auditing governments, as well as the fact that I helped Valdine convert the accounting system from QuickBooks to the current municipal accounting system. I'm very familiar with governmental accounting and how the processes work. I have 7 years of customer service experience in public accounting, so I deal with the public all the time. And I just wanted to give back to the community and be part of what's happening here again. Now that I've had my babies and they're growing up, I wanted to be part of where they grow up, and I felt like this was a good way to be part of that.
So the procedure is, find a little piece of paper, write down the name, either Denise or Barbara, come down around that end of the building and present them to the ballot clerk. You must be on the checklist.
Card paper?
Can you grab another one?
Yes, yes.
Sorry.
I'll grab a few for us. I know, Ann.
Yeah, we'll have it.
That's right, that's right, that's right.
Has everybody voted? Everybody voted for treasurer?
Sean, are you voting?
Who wishes to?
Okay.
Nobody else? Okay, the ballot box is closed, will be counted, go back to talking.
They're not like California with help. So,
Oh, quiet. Okay, power, right. Okay, here's the result of the treasure. Oh, yeah, thank you.
so can I have Barbara listed first? Can we do her first and then I have to go back and forth?
No, that's not my problem.
Sure it is.
Hello. Okay, here we go. Power is on. There we go. Okay, the result of the treasurer's vote was total number cast was 121. Needed 61 to be elected. Denise received 76. Barbara received 45. You've elected Denise Stewart as your town treasurer. Next office is that of trustee of public funds, 3-year term. Floor is open for nominations.
Nominate Barbara Brooke.
Barbara Brooke has been nominated for trustee of public funds.
What does that person do?
What does that person do? Good question. Who can answer that? Susan, Baldine?
Currently, the trustee of public funds doesn't really do a lot. I don't think the trustees even met once last year. So current trustees, are you here? So at this point, there aren't a lot of
Peggy and Cheryl.
Right. So did Peggy and Cheryl, did you guys meet last year? Did you guys meet? You're a trustee of public funds. Yeah. Right.
It's just one of those offices.
Yeah, so it's just one of those offices that there's not a lot of responsibility. But if you, I don't know, what, find something for you, I guess.
Well, there was a fund that we had, a Finley Forest Fund or something like that.
Right.
Is that correct?
Right, but that's just sort of been included in the town budget now.
Okay, so I guess it's sort of like fence viewers. It doesn't really do much anymore. But anyhow, yes.
Can we eliminate the position?
No, we cannot, statute, it's by the state statutes. So it's sort of like grand juror and town agent and all that stuff. So we have a name on the floor, Barbara Brook, for your trustee for public funds. Barbara, would you like to do that? Her reply was, well, all right. This is not a ballot. What? Actually, it probably is.
I move the nomination cease and the clerk cast one ballot for Barbara Brook.
All right, and a second. So the motion on the floor is that the nominations for trustee of public funds cease and that the clerk cast one ballot for Barbara Brook. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Yay, team. Okay, next office is that of cemetery commissioner, a 3-year term.
No. Been there, done that.
Wayne is already on the board.
Yeah, Bruce Buckley is.
Wayne, Patsy Mercier, and Bruce Buckley are on the term. Bruce's term expires this year. Patsy's already on it. Patsy's already on the board. Need a third one to join Wayne and to join.
Wayne has his hand up.
Wayne?
Oh.
Wayne nominated McNeil. I think he's here. Do you say yes? Yep. McNeil's nodding that he would take the position. Any other nominations for cemetery commissioner? This is not a ballot vote. All in favor of McNeil's being your cemetery commissioner for 3 years, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? No? He's passed. He's elected. There we go. McNeil. Okay, first constable, 1-year term, ballot vote, currently held by Rick Walsh.
Nominate Rick Walsh.
Okay, lots of people have nominated Rick Walsh. Any other nominations for your first constable? And Rick, are you here?
Yeah, I'm over here.
You are, okay, something you do? You would do that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right. A lot of work on this one, too. Ballot vote.
I move that nomination cease and the clerk cast one ballot for Rick Walsh.
Bridget has moved that the nominations cease and that the clerk cast one ballot for Rick Walsh as being your first constable for 1 year. All in favor? Those opposed? He's elected. Second constable, ballot vote, 1 year, currently held by Mark Schneider. Patsy has nominated Mark Schneider. Other nominations for second constable? I see none.
I move that the nomination cease and that the clerk cast one ballot for Mark Schneider.
Bridget, is there a second? Second by Mike. So the motion on the floor is that the nominations for second constable cease and that the clerk cast one ballot for Mark Schneider. All in favor? Aye. Those opposed? He's elected. Okay, now we get into library trustees. There's going to be, what was that? I didn't say a word. Okay. There's 3 positions. Are there nominations for library trustee? Janet.
I nominate Becky Arnold. She's now filling a place on the board, but she would like.
Okay, the name of Becky Arnold is in front of you for one of the positions. Becky Arnold.
Are you doing 3 at once?
We could. If there's 3 people running for 3 positions, then we don't have a contest. But so we need to elect 3. Yes.
I nominate Roseanne.
Okay, Roseanne Cook has been nominated for library trustee. Is that a? She would do it. Okay, so now we have a contest. Is there others? Brianna. Okay. Okay. Ginny Lapierre has been nominated for a library trustee. Others? Penny?
I nominate, we accept each person nominated for position 1, 2, 3, and vote on it, please.
Excuse me, Mike?
There are apparently, and I don't think you mentioned this, 2 3-year positions.
Okay.
And I've heard 3 nominees for those, and there's a 2-year position.
1 year.
I'm sorry, there's a 1-year position that I'd like to nominate someone for, but it may be easier to separate.
So right now, we have 3 people running for a 3-year term, is that correct?
We thought we were doing it differently.
Yeah, we thought we were doing it a little. I'll take the short one.
Okay,
Mike?
then I would like to nominate Ken Johnson for the 1-year term.
So now we have 4 people running for library trustee positions.
All right, so let's go
So now we're going to go back to doing one
at a time.
One at a time, okay?
Yeah.
Roseanne is withdrawn, so now we have 3 people running for 3 positions. Is that correct? Okay, so let's get it straight so we know what we're doing. Are there anybody else running for library trustee?
I move the nominations close and the clerk cast 1 ballot.
But who's going to be taking which position? I'd like to know.
the 1-year position.
Ken is doing one. I nominated Ken Johnson for the 1-year position.
And then we have Becky on.
Ginny was nominated for 3 years. Becky was nominated.
Who nominated Ginny? Who nominated Ginny?
Brianna.
Okay.
And the third was?
Jan Travers
Jan.
for Becky
Jan.
Arnold.
Oh, Becky, okay. Okay, so what we've got going on here, we're electing library trustees. The nominees are Ginny Lapierre for a 3-year position, Becky Arnold for a 3-year position, Ken Johnson for a 1-year position. Is that correct? Anybody else? All in favor of voting the slate of 3 as presented, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Okay, you've done it. That was easy. Thank you for your help, everybody. Okay, the collector of delinquent taxes, currently held by Janet Long, ballot vote, 1-year term.
I nominate Janet.
You nominate?
Janet.
Okay. Okay, the name of Janet Long has been nominated. Any others? No? This is a ballot vote.
I move that the clerk, the nomination cease so the clerk cast 1 ballot for Janet Long.
Motion on the floor is seconded by Mike.
Delinquent taxes.
And that, the motion on the floor is to elect Janet Long as your collector of delinquent taxes, a 1-year term. All in favor, say aye.
Did
That the clerk cast 1 ballot for that.
Right.
All say aye.
Aye. Did
No?
that need a second?
It got a second by Mike.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, good.
I thought he was the delinquent collector.
Yeah. That's why she got the Greensboro award. Okay, the last 2 on here are town agent, 1-year position, not a ballot vote, currently held by David Smith. David's name's been nominated all over the place. Anybody else like to be the town agent? All those in favor?
Do you have to be able to walk in stilts to do that?
You ever see David walk on stilts? All in favor of David Smith as being your town agent for 1 year, please say aye. Those opposed, say no. He's elected. The last one, town grand juror, also held by David Smith for perpetuity. Nominations are open. David Smith is nominated. Others? All in favor of David Smith as being your town grand juror, please say aye. Those opposed? We've made it through all of the elections. Under this meeting, there will be school positions filled in the school meeting. Article 7, shall the voters of the town of Greensboro appropriate the following sums to the outside agencies listed below, refer to page 8. I need a motion to accept the article.
So moved.
Yes, moved? Well, you don't have it yet. Okay, who made the motion to accept the article? Bridget? And is there a second? Kim?
Second.
Okay. Anybody, Bridget, would like to speak to it at all?
I think everything on here looks really good.
Okay, so what we're going to do is go down through these, You have a point of order, Naomi?
My question was just regarding why Wonder and Wisdom was listed under town municipal properties rather than under outside agencies for Article 7.
The Wonder and Wisdom is sort of, as far as I know, I don't know what their classification is exactly, to know if they really are an outside agency. They are,
They're a 501c3 that's not owned by the town?
well, that they are, but, you know, the other ones, well, I guess the rescue squad isn't either. So, I don't know. I mean, we just put it down there because it was sort of lumped in with the other ones. It's moved back and forth. But it was thought of that it wasn't really necessarily an outside agency. I guess I really wasn't aware that they were a 501c3 as well.
Yes.
So.
I mean, they've been a 501c3 for about 19 years. So.
Right. Well, that wasn't something that I was aware of when we put this together.
Okay,
so.
well then I don't know if I can move to just have Wonder and Wisdom moved up to the other groupings before we vote on that.
That's going to make it a bit confusing, isn't it? That's changing the rules of the day.
Does it
The
matter?
rules of order.
Doesn't matter.
Does it matter? Doesn't really matter where it is. I mean, we're going to discuss these things individually and vote on them.
report as it is.
Yeah, we've accepted this report the way it is so far. So these are what's concerned in Robert's rules. This is called the rules of the day. There is a procedure for changing that. It's rather cumbersome. So my recommendation,
How about if I
stepping
just-
aside, would be to leave it the way it is.
And how about if I just make a note that they get moved up there next year?
Next year.
Yep.
Okay. All right, so the way we do this, we go down and talk about each one individually. You can amend them up and down as we go through it, and when we're all done, we'll vote the bottom line. We can revisit them as many times as you want until we've totally voted for the article. First one is aware for $2,000. And if you'd like somebody to speak to it, just raise your hand or whatever, if you have any questions. Beach, 0. Caledonia Home Health, $1,400. Clarina Howard Nichols Center, $200.
What is that?
Well, the question is, what is the Clarina Howard Nichols Center? Which one?
Hand me yeah, right there.
This one here, right across?
Yep. Right. Yeah.
It's a woman's shelter.
It's a woman's
Yeah,
shelter.
they provide housing for women in crisis.
So we do have a handout up front that explains the different outside agencies, if you didn't have a chance to get a copy of this. But the Clarina Howard Nichols Center is a women's shelter in, Morrisville, Susan?
Yes.
In Morrisville.
Aware uses them when they have somebody in crisis that needs temporary shelter.
Would anybody like to have some of these passed around? Okay, next one is the Craftsbury Community Care Center, $10,000 appropriation. Four Seasons of Early Learning, $9,500 appropriation. Green Up, $50.
That's one tire that goes.
Greensboro Nursing Home, $20,013. Hardwick Area Community Coalition, $500. Hardwick Area Food Shelf, $2,000.
I think we should give them more money.
Jane thinks we should give them more money. Would you like to put a dollar amount on that?
Because we want a healthy population
Would you like to put
of
a,
young people.
do you have a suggestion for a dollar amount?
How many dollars? Whatever we can afford.
Well, in order to vote on this,
Take
we
it off of something else that isn't that important.
take it off of something else that's not that important. So you're not suggesting a dollar amount to raise this to? You're not suggesting a dollar amount, Jane?
You gotta go a lot louder than that.
Make it 3,000.
Do you have a suggestion for how much to change it to?
500 more.
Yes, that would be
$500 more is what Jane's suggestion is.
Everybody in this room should donate privately.
Okay, Jane's suggestion is that we amend $2,000 appropriation to $2,500, and that everybody in the room help them privately.
Second.
Well
And there's a second to that amendment. Right now, we will vote on the amendment, and we can discuss it first of all.
I'll do a second.
Okay, so we do have a second. Discussion on raising the food shelf from $2,000 to $2,500. Up or down? All we're voting on right now is the amendment. All in favor of amending the $2,000 appropriation from $2,000 to $2,500, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? So we've amended that up. Hardwick Area Restorative Justice, $1,500. More discussion? Lamoille Family, so what does that mean? Lamoille Family Center, $500. Penny?
I am not sure this is the category I would want to do something in, but due to President Trump's reduction of birth control help in agencies, would the Lamoille Family Center be a place to put in a little bit more money to help young people obtain birth control? Okay, so I got the wrong one. We don't have an agency on here that does that then, right? Okay, because I noticed that the Scandinavian countries are upping their money to these agencies so that it's still possible to get birth control from people for nothing. And I don't know what his new regulations are going to do to that, but that's an important thing. I don't know what your beliefs are, but still, the ability for people to get birth control and not have to pay big money is important to our world in general.
Okay, other discussions on the Lamoille Family Center? $500 appropriation? Up or down? Leave it. Northeast Kingdom Council on Aging, which is the Area Agency on Aging, $1,000. Northeast Kingdom Human Services, $800. Northeast Kingdom Learning Services, $250. Nope. North Country Animal League, $600. Everybody awake? NVDA, who said woof? NVDA, Northeastern Vermont Development Association, $572. Orleans County Historical Society, $525. Yes? Orleans County Citizens Advocacy, $800. Orleans County Court Diversion, $100. Red Cross, $250. Hardwick Rescue Squad, $7,756.35. Everybody says, why the funny number? What's that? That's what they asked for, and this is derived by taking the call volume for 5 years over all the towns that the rescue squad serves, getting an average of the number of calls to a particular town, and then appropriating it that way. RCT, Rural Community Transportation, $900. Vermont Center for Independent Living, $210. Okay, we've been through the list. Want to go back and discuss any of them over again? Raise them, lower them, eliminate them? Okay. So the motion as amended is to accept Article 7, which is, shall the voters of the town of Greensboro appropriate the following sums to the outside agencies listed below? I've read the list, and the appropriation change is for the Hardwick Area Food Shelf from $2,000 to $2,500, bringing the bottom line to $61,926.35. All in favor will say aye, please. Aye. Those opposed will say no. $61,926.35. Okay, that's passed, as amended. Article 8, shall the voters of the town of Greensboro approve the following special appropriation requests from the municipal properties listed below. That is interesting. Okay. Motion.
So moved.
So moved by Judy, seconded by Bridget. Okay, Greensboro Conservation, I'm assuming that's Greensboro Conservation Commission, $2,000. Questions, comments? Greensboro Free Library, $25,000.
Yay.
Greensboro Grange Building, $1,500. Mark?
So, is that working?
Yeah, walk right into it.
That building,
No, Mark, stand up. Speak right into it.
the Grange building,
You put it right in your mouth.
needs a lot of work, and it needs, like everything. It's in a swamp. The foundation's funky. The wiring's funky, the plumbing's funky, it's a lot of paint, no insulation. Each year it seems like we put more money into this building without having a plan. I'm on the town building committee, so we're currently looking at all the town buildings, seeing what their purpose is, seeing what they need, seeing what their future holds. So to keep putting money into this building without having a plan that's based in reality seems foolish to me as a taxpayer. So I would definitely vote to not put any more money into it until we knew what we were doing with it and we were aware of what the final outcome might be, because it could easily be a tremendous amount of money put into that building without a decent plan or purpose. So that's my vote, to not spend another penny on that building until we know what we're doing with the rest of the town properties.
Okay, Bridget, I see your hand next.
I would like to offer an amendment to the sum, raising it to $2,000.
For the Grange?
For the Grange part. Is there a second?
Second. Don't we have two motions?
No. Mark did not make a motion. He was giving an opinion, I believe. Is that correct, Mark? That's correct. Okay. Bridget has a motion to raise the Grange building from $1,500 to how much?
$2,000.
To $2,000. Raise it $500. And
Why?
Judy seconded it. Okay, so would you like to speak to it?
We were just told that this building needs a lot of work. We spent a good deal of time talking about the importance of this building to Greensboro in prior years. We are not going to, if we can't spend it this year, which I doubt, it can certainly be put toward future plans.
I want to speak to that too.
Okay, Valdine and then Ann.
We did get this, as you all know, or maybe you don't all know, is the original town clerk's building. It used to sit on the point of the green and it was moved across the road. The town did receive a grant from Vermont Historic Preservation Trust. Some of those funds have been used. We still have a balance of about $58,000. And I just think it's good for the town to contribute a little bit about it. We do have a plan for this building. It took a number of years to get one approved by the local DRB, but we do have a plan. And we, I think the people, myself personally, got a little burnt out. But now I think we're ready to move forward with working on the project and getting it done. I think could be a beautiful space, could be used for meetings, could be used for private events. But most importantly, it's part of our history, and the building should be kept and used.
Well, actually, Valdina did answer a lot of the questions. And we did get a grant from the, did we get a grant from Vermont or from, yeah, we did get a grant from Vermont, so I think it should be.
Good. Peggy? Peggy?
Do we have any idea how much it costs to stabilize the building, so at least it doesn't degrade while it's waiting for us to decide what to do with it?
The question is does anybody have a cost estimate for stabilizing the building? Who can address that? Stephanie can?
Thank you. When I was on the committee, I did up a budget, and Valdine has that, and it goes through all of the things that need to be done, foundation, wiring, everything. And I don't remember the final number, but it was not all that bad. And Valdine has that, and the committee, I've since moved, so I'm not working on that committee anymore, but they need some good help, and I think if you get a couple people to join that committee, it should go forward.
Okay, I saw Lucy's hand up, and then I saw Peter, and everybody gets a chance to speak once before I start doing second times around. So way in the back row, Leo.
My question is, if it's sitting in a swamp or wetlands, shouldn't the first consideration be to move it before working on it at all? Since it's already been moved once, it's not sacred to that particular location.
I just want to follow up a little bit on what Mark was saying. There is, in fact, a plan, and there are architectural drawings, but the other point of that is, what is the purpose? So when people talk about we need to invest a lot of money, we're talking potentially several $100,000. I don't believe we've ever had professionals do estimates on that building, and I think that would really be a smart way to go with this. We had a committee come up with some figures. Whether they're accurate or not is very questionable, because the committee members were not professionals. We took some figures from what happened at the library, which are dated also, and not necessarily applicable. This building is also lead contaminated, very large expense. So if we had a purpose for this building in which we were saying, let's invest several $100,000, that would be one thing. We have other derelict buildings. The town hall is extremely underused, needs a tremendous amount of money, and my thought was, I think it would behoove us to maybe put money into that building instead of starting a whole nother project for several $100,000 on a building in which, at this point, the purpose is, well, it could be this or it could do that, but there is no definite purpose for this building. And saying adding $500 to some appropriation is literally a drop in the bucket. And we also, in case everyone hasn't noticed, there's another $10,000 appropriation in today's proceedings for also to go into the Grange.
Where?
Isn't that?
No. No. No.
What page?
Did I misread that? All right, I'll look for that. So anyway, I would really suggest that, when we say a couple $1,000s here, a couple $1,000s, this is only the beginning. This building is potentially a black hole, kind of like the town hall is. And if we want to invest money, I would suggest we do it in a building that we're already using, and we could maximize the use of that building. A lot of people think we should do something with the third floor of that building, which would be very interesting. But again, it's a ton of money, and to divide our resources into multiple buildings, I think is foolish.
Further comments?
Yep, here.
Okay, I think Judy was up first and then Roseanne.
Well, as you can see, there's lots of controversy even up here at the front table. I remember, and a lot of people I'm sure do, when we were voting about whether to tear the town hall down and make a parking lot, which some people might argue we should have done, but we've obviously gotten many productive years of use out of the town hall. I think $2,000 for another year, and asking the committee to come back to us next year with a real solid plan and real solid figures is a good investment, rather than kind of letting things keep falling into the muck before we know what to do. And there are a lot of potential uses. Disclosure, I had my wedding reception in that building and my 25th anniversary.
Okay, Roseanne, then Ken, and then Laura.
I've used that building for events from time to time. It has not been useless to me. I've much enjoyed some other events that have been presented there by the crafters and so on. I would not say it's an unused building. And as a carpenter friend of mine used to say, you can always cut it shorter, you can't cut it longer. Once you get rid of a piece of history, it's gone. You can't get it back. And I don't mind, you know, I'd vote for the $2,000, but if we don't vote to spend it, I still think we still need to think about keeping this important building a part of our history.
Okay, what we're talking about right now is an appropriation change from 2,000 to 2,500, and Penny's right there, so go ahead, Penny, and then Laura.
From 1,500 to 2,000.
1,500 to 2,000, excuse me. Thank you.
So I'm only allowed to talk about that?
Sort of.
Well, taking that and putting it with the committee, who have done a lot of great work, everybody on there, regardless of the estimates and all that, they were estimates, at least, they're trying to do that. I am familiar with rotting buildings since I live in one. And I think that committee should also check the newest, in spite of President Trump, I'm sorry, disbelief about the environment, we need to check the laws about that being near or in the swamp. Because if we have some other piece of property and anything was stable enough to move, we might have to move that out of the swamp, especially if there's a lot of lead pollution. We might be required by environmental laws to do something about that sooner than we want. And that needs to be checked into, because swamps are valuable now. We've killed a lot of them, and there's not much filtration for our water system. And who's had trouble with the water system this year? So we must think about that and take this as a whole problem that could use this money to go forward and work on. And I'm pretty much in favor of keeping historical buildings. I think we need a tourist center in this town. I mean, Willie's bulletin board is great, but we need somebody to sit there with some bathrooms and some coffee and tell them about all the good stuff around here. I think it would economically benefit the whole town. And I know you don't want more people moving in, but we can move them in and out.
Okay, Laura, did you have a comment?
This may not be viable to what we're talking about, but the $58,000 grant, what happens to that if you don't put it toward the building? If that was given specifically for that building?
It stays with the organization. We don't get to keep it. It has to be used on that building only.
Okay, Ken, did you have a comment?
What is the need for this money this year? I hear you have $58,000 sitting there unspent. What is the need for this money this year at any level?
It just shows the Vermont Preservation Trust, who gave us the grant, that the town supports the project. And really it's a small amount of money to show that the town is in favor of keeping this building and moving forward, and that the voters also support. So that's essentially what it's for. It will go into the kitty, towards renovations of the building.
Further comments? Josh, way back row.
Does this grant money evaporate at some point if it's not spent?
Event, I don't know where you are, Josh, so I can't look at you. Oh, there, okay. Eventually, yes, but the Preservation Trust folks are really good to work with. As long as we stay in communication with them and we make small progress, they're happy.
Other questions on the amendment to raise it? Yes, Peter. Oh, wait a minute, has everybody talked who wants to the first time around? Mark, did you want to say something else?
The second time around.
Second time around, here we go. You've already talked, Peter, so you're up, Mark.
I'd like to make a motion that we strike this 1,500.
Out of order. Right now, we're talking about an amendment to change it from 15 to 2,000. So we will vote that up and down. So either it's going to stay at 15 or it's going to go to 2,000, and then you can strike it if you wish.
Copy that.
Okay. I get to say out of order. Ooh. What's that? Carl? Okay, we got a motion to call the question. 7 or more of you want to call the question on the amendment? Yes. Hands in the air? More than 7 of you. Okay, so that's the end of the discussion. What's on the floor right now is an amendment to change the dollar amount on the Greensboro Grange from 1,500 to 2,000. Would you like a ballot vote?
No.
Would 7 or more like a ballot vote? Nope. All in favor of changing the dollar amount from $15 to $2,000, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say no.
No.
The noes appear to have it. Anybody question the chair? Okay. Stays as it is, $1,500. We are discussing the appropriations under Article 8. Mark?
Actually, nobody loves old buildings more than I do. That being said, our town hall needs a lot of money. The town garage is going to need fixed. This is just foolishness, in my humble opinion. So I would make a motion that we defund this completely for this year. Strike the 1,500.
Is there a second? Second. Okay, there's a motion and seconded on the floor to remove the $1,500 from Article 8. Is there discussion? Peter? Then Chrissy.
First of all, I apologize about the 10,000. I misread this. That was in 2016, I believe. So the emotion that is often attributed to this building in terms of I got married there or I love this place or whatever, I don't think is necessarily valid. The building is not collapsing. We have $58,000 to work on it. Again, the town hall, a new town garage, several other large infrastructure projects could happen in this town. I don't believe we need another one.
Chrissy?
Well, I was going to say that I wanted the 1,500 just to keep it from falling into the swamp, but there's 58,000 to keep it from falling into the swamp. Is that the case, Peter? So then they don't need the 1,500 to keep it from rotting further?
So what we have, that's the approximate balance of the grant that we received.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, the reason there is something in the budget is to show the Vermont Historic Preservation Trust people that the town's people do support this project and they are interested. It's the same amount of money that goes to the Historical Society for basically the same reason, I think. You know, we support the project. So that's the question.
My feeling is that we should go with the 1,500 just to keep it solid and then have, during the year, have a full investigation of do we care, what would we use it for? Because I don't think anybody's made up their minds. So I would encourage people to vote for the 1,500 just to give us some time to decide what to do with it.
Further discussion? Yes, Tracy, and then Bridget. Call the question. All in favor of calling the question? 7 or more of you?
Aye.
Hands in the air for calling the question. Okay, you got it. Okay. The question is whether or not to eliminate the $1,500. So the motion on the floor, which is an amendment, is to strike $1,500 from Article 8. Ballot vote, yes or no? No. All in favor of striking $1,500 for the Grange building, say aye. Aye. So you're in favor of striking it, correct? Yes. Okay. All those in favor of not striking it, leaving it like it is, say no.
No.
Sounds to me like the noes have it. Anybody question that? Okay, so it stands as printed. Want to move on?
Yes.
Greensboro Historical Society, $1,500. Wonder and Wisdom Programs, $3,500. Okay, bottom line for Article 8. Greensboro Conservation Committee, $2,000. Greensboro Free Library, $2,500. Greensboro
25,000.
20. Thank you very much. That's why you're all there. Greensboro Conservation, $2,000. Greensboro Free Library, $25,000. Greensboro Grange Building, $1,500. Greensboro Historical Society, $1,500. Wonder and Wisdom Programs, $3,500. Bottom line, $33,500. If you are in favor of Article 8, please say aye. Those opposed, say no. Passed on a voice vote. Okay, Mickey says that it's 11:54. You want to continue and finish this section of the town meeting up?
Yes.
Okay, Article 9. Shall the voters approve the proposed budget in the amount of $1,801,107?
It's been amended.
Amended to.
Amended to
1,801,607.
1,801,607.
607.
I was getting to that, but thank you. Okay, so the amended amount is $1,801,607, and that contains the necessary amount required by law and proposed expenses for the fiscal year commencing July 1, 2017. This budget amount includes the outside and local appropriation requests. Motion is in order.
So moved.
So moved by Kim, seconded by somebody. Fern. Okay. Discussion on the select board's budget. Mark.
Is this an appropriate moment to speak to town salaries?
Yes. This
So-
is an appropriate time to talk about anything listed in the budget.
So I would like to make a motion that in the future, all of the town employees' salaries and benefits were line itemed so that we know who makes what and what benefits they get, not unlike surrounding communities do.
Okay, that unfortunately is not germane to the dollar amount, so that would have to come up under Article 12 to transact any other business, and that's basically a suggestion.
Sounds good.
And coming to a select board meeting.
And come to a select board meeting.
And
Okay, other discussions on Article 9? Naomi?
Can we have then, I guess, a description of, or a breakdown a little bit of the payroll taxes for the town offices? I'm just curious as to what our $83,799 goes to, because when looking at other towns like Craftsbury, that's twice the amount that they have in their budget.
What that covers is the town clerk, the treasurer, the assistant, and the 2 assistant town clerks. Craftsbury's budget is a little bit, it's not as black and white because their treasurer gets paid, she's also the school treasurer, so she gets paid for that. She's also the delinquent tax collector, so she gets paid for that, and I believe she gets a portion of the funds collected as taxes, but I'm not 100% certain about that. So the numbers are grouped differently in Craftsbury.
Okay, other questions on Article 8? Is it 8? Yes. No, 9? Ready for the question? So Naomi again?
I was just curious also about the assessor assistant, if we're looking on page 11, going up from last year's budget, there's a 976% increase. So I'd like to know what that 7,000 is for.
The thought is it will be more cost economical for the town if we have the assessor's assistant doing more of the transfers, more of the data entry, and then the assessor himself would come fewer days, which would in the end save the town money. But initially we have to, get someone trained and up to speed to start taking on more and more responsibility of that position.
Further questions? This is a ballot vote. It can be done by paper ballot or by voice ballot if somebody makes the appropriate motion, unless there's other discussion.
Move that we accept the budget as presented and instruct the clerk to cast one ballot.
As amended.
As amended.
Okay, Bridget has made a motion that we accept the budget as amended in Article 9, and that the clerk cast one ballot to that effect. Is there a second? Second by Laura Lee. Okay. Shall the voters approve the proposed budget in the amount of amended budget in the amount of $1,801,607, which contains the necessary amount required by law and the proposed expenses for the fiscal year commencing July 1, 2017. If you're in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, say no. Unanimous. Article 10, shall the voters of the town of Greensboro approve having the town treasurer serve as collector of current taxes and set the tax due date of November 2nd, 2017. Taxes will be delinquent if not received in the office of the town treasurer by Thursday, November 2nd, 2017 by 4 p.m. Motion to accept? So moved by Janet, seconded by Carl. Discussion. Wayne?
Why are we moving the date?
The question is, why are we moving the date?
I keep trying to get a date after the last date that the state sends property tax adjustments so that we don't have to make adjustments with people who may be delinquent because they're waiting for their payment to come in. It's a hard number to keep, hard date to keep on top of with the state.
See anything about the credit card?
Oh, yes. Last year with the post office, there were a lot of checks that came in late just because of the way the mail goes these days. So as you might have noticed in the town report, I included a little sentence that we are looking for something called municipay. So basically people will be able to make property tax payment as well as other payments using their debit cards. The individual using this service will be charged a fee, and that will be clearly laid out and clearly stated. But it will just be another avenue for people to be able to send payments. You can pay your recording, you can pay your zoning application fees, you can pay your property taxes, but you will be assessed a fee.
But not delinquent taxes, I hope.
Janet says, but not delinquent taxes, she hopes. We'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Okay, you ready for the question? Which is, Article 10, shall the voters of the town of Greensboro approve having the town treasurer serve as a collector of current taxes and set the tax due date of November 2nd, 2017. Taxes will be delinquent if not received in the office of the town treasurer by Thursday, November 2nd, 2017 by 4 p.m. All in favor will say aye. Aye. Those opposed will say no. Thank you. It's passed. Article 11, for discussion purposes only, should the day and time of town meeting be changed?
No.
Anybody want to talk about it? Okay. How many say yes?
Well, wait a minute.
Okay,
What are we
let's
saying?
discuss it. Okay. Who wants to talk about it? Tim. Judy.
Well, part of the reason this came up is someone came to the select board and pointed out that many working people do not have this day off, which includes a lot of the younger people in town, and that, you know, maybe moving it to an evening or a Saturday morning would increase attendance. Obviously, everybody here can make it, so it's kind of a odd straw vote, but a number of towns have changed this, and from my informal conversations with people, it has increased the attendance, so the idea was to think about it.
Discussion, Bridget?
I personally can come to either one, so I don't care. We used to have something called pre-town meeting, which was held on a Friday evening, I believe, possibly Saturday evening. Same people came to both, so, you know, that was 25 years ago, so I don't know that it's relevant. But I would also like the town to think about, particularly with the new regulations requiring checklists, checkoffs for everybody going through on every ballot vote, where there's, you know, that we consider making officers an Australian ballot question.
These are recommendations only, nothing binding. Mike?
Yes, in a role as state legislator several years ago, I used to go to town meetings all around 2 full counties plus parts of 3 others. And my observation was a couple of those towns had changed their times for town meeting, and they had dwindling attendance. So I'm sure that some towns have improved their attendance, and I suspect others may not have. But my observation was the opposite of what Judy is reporting.
Further discussion? Penny, and then, sorry.
I would like to hear from some of the younger people who have trouble getting away from their jobs in this group right here. And I would like to interject that my daughter can't make this meeting. She's just starting to get more interested in community things that happen and getting her opinion in on things. But, you know, it takes a while for a youngster to get that bigger view that knows that your voice can make a difference. So I'm in favor of moving something to a time when the working people can get to it. Even if it's just now that's more work for the select board, but even if it's just the select board listening to the opinions of younger members of our community, because we right now have several younger members of our community really involved in our community. And we need to A, encourage that, and B, get their opinion, because I'm sorry, but I'm stepping into the grave someday.
I'm gonna take it for you. Currently, the select board meets the second Wednesday of every month at 6:30 p.m. And anyone and everyone is welcome to attend. So the younger people in the community who want to have their concerns heard or ask questions or just become involved are more than welcome to attend select board meetings. I feel changing the date, time, etc. of town meeting, we would lose what we have here, and I would really hate to see that. My youngest son recently moved back to Vermont, and he sent me an email last night when he realized that town meeting in the town that he lives in is not the town meeting that he knows. Very disappointed, because this is what he thought he was going to get, and this isn't what he's getting. So anyway, I'm going to vote no on moving when it comes to it. And
Susan would like to speak. Oops, sorry.
Well, Valdine actually took part of what I was going to say, because I would like to encourage everyone in here to attend our select board meetings. Sometimes we have as many as 20 people at a select board meeting, which is great. That's where we get the feedback. We know what you want us to do for you. And our meetings are in the evening, so that gives people that work during the day an opportunity to get there and help out. I'd also like to say that town meeting, this particular town meeting, the tradition that we have as a result of this is a very important tradition, and I would like to see that maintained. For the most part, I'm always willing to change with the times, but this is one of the traditions that when I first moved to New England and I started attending town meetings, and I thought, this is the best thing I've ever seen. I want to see it continue like it is.
I'm going to step aside. Mr. Moderator, may I make a comment? Yes, you may. I'd like to see the town meeting start at 9 o'clock in the morning. Traditionally, it started at 10 so that farmers could get their chores done. Unfortunately, our farms have diminished considerably in numbers. But I'd like to see it start at 9 so we're not trying to cram everything in. Okay, back to my role. Okay, who's that? Oh, we got lots of people over there. Where's the mic? Yes, Adam, you're up. Let's get that side first.
Good morning. As one of those younger people, I'd like to point out I had to skip 2 classes up at Linden State just to attend today. Just the impact on my current life, and I imagine once I wind up with a full-time job after graduation, I'm not going to be able to make this. My wife is unable to make this. Her position is such that her journalism students cover 14 towns over in Caledonia County in that area. She's definitely not going to be able to make it on these weekday Tuesdays. And she's someone who's very interested in partaking in town, potentially even running for select board someday. Another thing to consider, and
this mic keeps cutting out, so I'm just going to speak up loud.
One thing to consider, we elect the select board members on town meeting day. Consider everybody in town, all those voters who are unable to vote for their select board member because they cannot attend town meeting. Now, this is something that may be potentially ameliorated if we move select board voting to Australian ballot, but consider these people, working people like my wife, others in town, especially the younger generation. I look around the room here, and yeah, there are a few younger people here and there, but by and large, it's the older residents in town who are filling this room right now. So, I, for one, would like to be able to partake more. I certainly would like my wife to be able to partake more in town business, even being able to elect her select board members, which right now she is unable to do, just like everybody else who is unable to make this meeting on a weekday Tuesday. So I would just like people to take that into consideration. Why don't we have a whole lot of young people partaking in town business? They don't feel it's worth it.
Yep, Carolyn?
On a just similar note, I was going to say that the people who can't be here aren't here right now. And so the majority of people who are here voting to keep it here at this time are the people who can make it at this time. And the people who can't make it aren't here to contribute this vote. Does that make sense?
If somebody were to do a petition to this effect and petition the select board to make an Australian ballot to this effect, that could probably make it happen.
Well, there's a process.
But
where
there is a process. Better go to the select board and ask about it. Okay, we're still over on that table. Trish.
I'm just curious, of those who are here, how many would come at night?
How many would come at night if we had a meeting? Hands in the air.
Saturday morning.
Okay, we'll do Saturday morning next. Okay, how about on a Saturday morning? Looks like more on Saturday morning. What do you think? Okay, if you had a choice of those two, which would you do? On an evening, what would you do? Saturday morning. Okay, it looks like Saturday morning has a straw ballot. Fede, you want to say anything?
Yeah, I am a U.S. citizen. I became recently.
Congratulations.
I can't find Italian citizenship, but anyway. I've lived in many countries, and this is the only country where, like, the business of democracy happens on a Tuesday. Every other country in the world goes and vote on weekends. That have been in Middle East, Europe, wherever. They vote on weekends. Why is it so hard to do the business of democracy on a weekend?
You got to get to recycle.
It's really hard for me to. It shouldn't be such a difficult decision.
Okay.
We've seen these issues like in general election and town meeting,
Okay, moving along. Brent.
Check. So, I think that what makes this meeting special, having been to another town meeting down in my hometown of Hardwick growing up and stuff, there was a little more contention and a little less good food. And I look around and it's like we make it special. And it's not the day or the time, it's the people that choose to come. And if we have the option of making it more accessible by changing it by 3 days, I'm not going to know the difference. And 3 years from now, we'll look back and go, hey, that was a good idea. So I'm all in favor of that. Alternating to a more accessible time, whether it's in 6 p.m. or a Saturday morning. Can you make it on Saturday? You can't.
We're not doing a binding vote on this. We're just having a discussion. Carl, you're up.
I would just ask that we collect some, give the people who aren't here a chance to voice their thoughts and find out who would or be able to come on either evening or Saturday. So,
yeah. Bridget, you're up.
At least I get the one that works, right? I would like to say a few more words about going with Australian ballot for officers and possibly budget, is that it can be done absentee, which means that no matter when somebody works, whether they work, Friday night, Saturday morning, Tuesday, whatever, they can still vote. They can get an absentee ballot through the mail or in person and send it in, and then their vote counts. In terms of moving it, I don't care.
Okay, Judy, and then Ken, and then.
Yeah, my voice is kind of shaky. I need the mic. I think we all agree that town meeting is one of the things that makes democracy in Vermont special. Why does the state not mandate that this is a day off for everyone? Seems to me we're bending over backwards trying to accommodate and missing the point. This should be a non-working day. It should be a state holiday. Let's get our rep over here and get her working on it.
Okay, more, or we had enough? Okay, Jane?
I think the tradition is a very strong way of keeping things in their place. And when you change them, something dies.
You want to talk? Okay, Peter, Penny, you got something too? Okay. Ken?
It's I think already been stated, but the most valued part about this tradition is that it's democracy and its accessibility, and the day and time, as Brent said, is meaningless. I mean, who cares what day it is? It's making this happen.
Penny, and then Ken, and then let's get on.
I'm guilty of not coming to select board meetings. And I'd like to suggest the select board advertise the one, if that's what you do, that they would listen to the younger people of our community in as a special invitation to the younger people, so that we're not a town run by gray hairs.
Okay, are we all done with this one?
Can I just say one thing?
Yep.
Just so everybody knows, one thing that we're planning to do tomorrow night at the select board meeting is setting our schedule, and our plan is to make one meeting per quarter in the Bend in an effort to make our select board meetings more accessible to everybody. So please come, give us your input.
So we have concluded Article 11, the longest one we talked about. Article 12, to transact any other business that may legally come before the meeting, non-binding.
When are we going to hold the 4th of July?
It's actually on Tuesday.
4th of July is on a Tuesday this year, is that correct?
Yeah, so you could go either way.
July 1st.
What's the legal one?
Legal one is Tuesday.
Traditionally, it's on the 4th.
I'm proposing Saturday, July 1st, as the 4th is on Tuesday.
I'll second that.
Discussion about when is the 4th of July going to happen? Yes.
Don't we have to make sure the fireworks people can do it?
We have to make sure the fireworks people can do
I
something.
tell them when they come, or Kim is going to tell them when we're holding the 4th.
Okay.
It was the other way around for a long time.
Yeah.
We can't have the 4th on the 4th. Other than that, we can give them the day.
The suggestion is July 1st for the 4th. Pretty cool? Okay. Other discussion to come up under Article 12. Carl?
I don't need it. Just a thank you for those people who have bought numbers to put on their houses from rescue. Please, if you don't have numbers on the road so we can see it, please put them up. It's really, really helpful.
How do you get those?
Question is, how do you get the rescue squad numbers?
We have the applications at the town clerk's office. You can stop by and fill it out, and then we will contact the fire department, and they will stop by and pick them up and give you a call when your sign is ready. $15 for your sign.
Okay. Anything else under the last article, Article 12? Penny, did you have something?
My brain finally dug up a name for family planning. Family planning is the name of the institution for helping youngsters and whoever practice birth control. And I just wanted everybody to keep in mind, I think there's a place in Hyde Park that's family planning. And just keep in mind that we may have to help fund birth control in this whole area if nobody else is going to do it.
Okay, I would like to suggest, okay, Wayne?
Do we have a listing in the town report of people's salaries? And so that I just disagree that we need to know what we're paying people and to not be ashamed of it or whatever. It's just, I think we need to know as a town, I mean, I don't remember exactly what the town clerk's salary budget was, but it's like 85,000. Well, who gets what? And they're also the same for the road crew. It's a substantial chunk of money, and I think we as voters are entitled to know where it goes. And that doesn't mean that that we are nitpicking on what we pay our people. We should be paying our people appropriate wages and benefits. But I think we need to know, and I think it should be in the town report, that we know what our expenses are. Everything else is listed ad infinitum in the books. It's like, why don't we know what that is?
Okay, I would like to suggest that we conclude this meeting with a motion, however, that we start the Greensboro Town School District meeting at 1:15 rather than 1 o'clock as presented, because it's currently 12:22. Is that okay with everybody?
Yes.
Well, we don't have to, oh jeez. So, a motion is in order to adjourn this meeting. Moved. Neither amendable or dependable or whatever it is. So, all in favor of adjourning, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say no. The ayes have it. Thank you very much. You're a great crew. See you at 1:15.
Great meeting.